I will not keep silent. For Gaza's sake, I will not keep silent. For Ukraine's sake, I will not keep silent. For the outskirts of Los Angeles, I will not remain silent. I will not rest until their vindication shines out like the dawn and their salvation like a burning torch. It will not be possible to shut me up. I will talk and keep on talking. I will proclaim and keep on proclaiming. I will preach and keep on preaching. I will shake the skies with my voice. I will not pause. I will not rest for the sake of the precious lands that God loved and appeared to have left. And I will keep on keeping on until every nation can see that Gaza and Ukraine and Los Angeles have been declared innocent and lifted up to a place of honor and glory. That, for me, is the effect of our first reading for today from Isaiah. Subject is the city of Jerusalem, a city brought to ruins by an imperial power known as the Babylonians. Cyrus and his people from Persia are now running the show, and they are inviting the Jewish exiles who have been cast off to all kinds of other lands to come back home, to come back to Jerusalem. And they're inviting them back even with a little invitation that they'll have some money to rebuild their temple. Things are looking up. But let's be honest, Jerusalem is still a mess. The exiles are coming back to town, some of them anyway, but the town is a devastated heap of destruction and garbage. But Jerusalem has a fan, a spokesperson, one who will not give up on this city. Some people see the fan as God, and that makes some sense for me. But today I am viewing that fan as the prophet. Call him Isaiah if you wish. For me, Isaiah today is advocating to God on behalf of the city he loves. He's reminding God of what Jerusalem can become. He is reminding God of what God has promised to this great place. It's almost as if Isaiah is saying, God, don't forget your love for the holy city. And by the way, it feels like you have. But I'm not going to let you forget. I will not keep silent. I will not keep silent until Jerusalem is a crown of beauty in the hand of the Lord and a royal diadem in the hand of your God. I will not keep silent until one who is labeled forsaken and desolate is named, my delight is in her, and your land, Beulah, married. Jerusalem is going to be called by a new name. I got a new name over in glory. And it's mine, mine, mine. I got a new name over in glory, and it's mine, mine, mine. I got a new name over in glory, and it's mine, mine, mine. I got a new name over in glory, and it's mine, mine, mine. And now, a new name is not a matter of Chuck or Charles, Chuck to Charles, or Bill to William, because, well, one sounds more formal than the other, or one goes better with Utrick or with Williams. You know, I know somebody in Cincinnati whose parents named him John Johns. It just doesn't go very well. I mean, I would have changed the name, make it Jake or something, not John Johns. That's how we often choose names. We choose them on the basis of what sounds good, what's popular. That's not how they chose names in biblical days. For biblical writers, names have power. They connect us to what our lives mean and what God is doing through us and through those names. Jerusalem has a new name, which means it has a new identity, and it's a name that grants hope. The prophet will not give up on the city he loves. I love what John Holbert says in relationship to this wonderful text from Isaiah. He says, to be a Christian and to be a cynic is nothing less than an oxymoron. To be a Christian is to be a person of hope. To be Christian is to be people of hope. And honestly, it's hard these days. Gaza looks like a mess. Ukraine looks like a mess. California, parts of it anyway, look like a mess. Our political system seems somewhat broken. Narcissism is rampant. Despair seems omnipresent. Suicide rates are at an all-time high. Climate change is bringing us disaster after disaster. Our kids are learning way too much too soon. Technologies that have promised us utopia are giving us anything but utopia. Cynicism seems to be the right choice, and sometimes I understand why. But hope is our gift. Hope is our song. Hope is our habitat. I will not keep silent until the hope that we trust gives way to a transformed world. I suspect that Martin Luther King, whose birthday we celebrate this day, felt the same way about his calling. This prophet of truth and this prophet of hope would not give up, even if his prophetic speech would bring about his death, which it did. Just 2 months before he was murdered, King, in a speech in Washington, D.C., said, and I love this line, I think King was a master of words, he said, "We must accept finite disappointment, but never lose infinite hope." And King, in a lecture series in 1967, claimed, if you lose hope, somehow you lose the vitality that keeps you moving. You lose that courage to be, that quality that helps you go on in spite of it all. And so, he said, I still have a dream. King still spoke, and he would not remain silent until that dream was fulfilled. You know, I wonder what gave the Israelites, what gave the prophet Isaiah the hope that drove him and drove them. Was it that, as we all say, hope just springs eternal? Was it a never-dying optimism that just wouldn't give in to the facts on the ground? Perhaps. I mean, humans may be wired for hope. I think they are. But when it comes to Israel and to Isaiah, I suspect that corporate memory, fed their orientation toward hope. And you need to get this, because as you face some of the issues you have to face, you got to be reminded of the memory that you have. You'll notice that Israel in the Bible is always remembering the forefathers and the foremothers, remembering the time when they were freed from the hands of the Egyptians, remembering the creation of all that is. As they looked to the future, they remembered the gifts of the past, and they concluded that in their God there was steadfast love, faithfulness, mercy, and grace that were true from the very beginning. Listen to our psalm for today. Your steadfast love, O Lord, extends to the heavens, your faithfulness to the clouds. How precious is your steadfast love, O God. All people take refuge in the shadow of your wings. They feast on the abundance of your house, and you give them drink from the river of your delights. The Israelites remembered. They looked around at the present, and they sensed the provision of God. In their God, they knew abundance. They faced the future by clinging to God's abundance that they had encountered in the past. I will not keep silent until all know and experience the abundance of God. And the abundance of God is the bottom line truth of the Christian faith. If you want to know what underscores what is the foundation for everything we talk about here, it's this: the abundance of God. In God there is not scarcity, there is abundance. There is an abundance of love and grace and forgiveness. And I will not keep silent until all know and trust that, because what they often know and trust is scarcity. In Bible study on Wednesday night, Bert Goodman, after I said something similar to what I just said, claimed or asked, "Do you remember the toilet paper shortage during COVID?" Yeah, we all do. We all were driven by scarcity. So what did we do? We ran out and bought as much toilet paper as we could. And you know what happened to that? The scarcity became reality and the prices went up. I think it's phenomenally profound that one of the first consequences of human sin in Genesis is sibling rivalry. It's called scarcity. After Adam and Eve eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and after they give birth to two boys, guess what the boys start doing? They start fighting with each other. And eventually one kills the other. Why? Because they couldn't imagine that there was enough love to go around for the both of them. The other was a threat, because you know there is only so much to go around. I have to get rid of the other so that I can have my piece of the pie. I will not keep silent until we understand that this is not how it operates in the realm of God. In God, there is more than enough to go around, which is the truth of the story of the wedding in Cana. Jesus and his mom, they've been invited to a wedding. The party throwers must not have been such good party throwers because they didn't have enough wine, or more people showed up than they anticipated. Who knows? All we know is they ran out of wine. But you see, that isn't a problem when Jesus is involved, because in him, there's always more than enough. There's always room for one more at the table. Jesus takes the 120 to 150 gallons of water that were sitting in 6 stone water jars and turns that water into wine. And all of a sudden, there are 120 to 150 gallons of wine. Whoa. That's quite a party. We hosted a party last Friday night at our home in which a pastor from Sparta brought bottle after bottle of wine that he had made. There seemed to be a never-ending supply. But trust me, there were not 120 to 150 gallons. But in Jesus, you see, there is abundance. There is more than enough to go around. In fact, as John will tell us in the next chapter of his story, there's more than enough for the whole world. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son. I will not keep silent until we hear of and trust that abundance, living in the hope that such abundance brings. Hope for Gaza, hope for Ukraine, hope for California, hope for everyone and everything.